I see him.
Yes, I said, okay, I see. Hey, Uncle Mort, how you doing? Can you hear us?
Yeah, doing pretty good. I'll be with you shortly.
Okay.
Okay, nice seeing you, Larry.
Good to see
Nice.
you too.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, honey.
Hello.
Thank
That's
you
my
for
big
joining
brother.
us.
That's
Yeah.
your
Oh,
big-
that's your big brother.
That's my big
I'm gonna
brother.
be nice. I'm gonna be nice to you tonight.
Oh, yeah. No
That's
winking
right.
this time, Tommy. No winking at her this time.
Yes. So while I have the opportunity, this might be a good time just going ahead and introduce Uncle Mort. Uncle Mort is Mama Jordan and Aunt Mara's brother. He's been between Mama Jordan and
Yes. Yes,
so,
that's right.
I'll let him speak for himself when we open up the floor for discussion. But just welcome, Uncle Morton. We're so happy that you're on, and I know you're gonna get something from it, and I know you're gonna add something to the conversation today. Great. So
Yeah, he said he'd be back. So
okay, so thank you for everybody joining us tonight for our Bible study. We're on day 38 of our What on Earth Are We Here For? Purpose-Driven Life study. Today's topic is a good one, and it's titled Becoming a World-Class Christian. You know, I have on this shirt right here, and when I was thinking about today's topic, this is supposed to be a similar simulation of Michael Jordan slam dunking on somebody. And I thought about how he is a world-class athlete and how they're world-class athletes, they're world-class businessmen, they're world-class teachers, there are world-class professors, there are world-class individuals in a whole bunch of different areas of life. But the most important thing is what we're going to be talking about tonight is becoming a world-class Christian.
Mhm.
That's something worthy of trying to master. And this is what our study has been about, becoming Christ-like. And if we want to become Christ-like, we're going to have to work towards becoming world-class Christians. So I'm going to just jump right on in with the summary, and then we'll jump into our discussion.
Okay.
Jesus said to his followers, go everywhere in the world and tell the good news to everyone. That is our job. And if we're able to do that without reservation, without holding back, without being shamed, then we are on our way to becoming world-class Christians. The Great Commission is our commission. So that's our duty. It's our duty to carry out the Great Commission, which is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind. And when we're doing that, then we're living our best life and our purpose life. We will either be world-class Christians or a worldly Christian. There's a difference. Worldly Christians look to God primarily for personal fulfillment. They're saved, but they're self-centered. Their prayers focus on their needs, blessings, and their own happiness. It's a me first faith. They want to use God for their purposes instead of it being the other way around. A world-class Christian, they were made to serve, and they were made for a mission. They're excited about the privilege of being used by God. They wake up each morning expecting God to work through them in fresh new ways. God invites us all to participate in the greatest, largest, most diverse, and most significant cause in history, and that is the building of his kingdom. God's global mission, it will be accomplished with or without us. So it's in all of our best interest to get on board and get on the same frequency with what the Lord is going to work doing in this world. Because it's going to happen whether we want it to or not, whether we're involved or not. A world-class Christian will experience a little of what heaven will be like here on earth when you're living the life that God has purposed us to live. We taste a little bit of heaven. I was talking to somebody and I explained to them that we don't have to leave earth to experience heaven.
Mhm.
And we don't have to leave earth to experience hell neither, because there can be hell right here on earth.
that's right.
our perspective and what we make of it. So we don't have to leave this place to experience a little bit of what heaven is going to be like. It's never been easier in history to fulfill our commission to go out into the world and spread the good news of the Lord's, that the Lord is our salvation. Technology has made this a small world, and it is shrinking daily. Today we have airplanes, ships, trains, buses, automobiles, and we have all of these tools to be able to get our work done, which is to fulfill the commission, the Great Commission. Every corner of the earth is available to us. We have no excuse not to spread the good news. With the internet and social media, the world is getting even smaller. The whole world is at our fingertips. Everything is just an email away. Therefore, we can carry on evangelizing. Like, your email, we can evangelize conversations with people outside of the world, even without leaving our house. Just like we're doing right now, we're in different parts of the country, from Florida to Texas to Detroit to California. We're in all different parts, but we're getting together, and the world is shrinking because of technology.
Amen.
It's never been easier in history to fulfill our commission to go into the world. The only barrier is the way we think. To be a world-class Christian, we have to have some mental shifts. I like to call it having attitude adjustments. Our perspective and our attitudes must change from worldly ways to Christian ways to become a world-class Christian. So how do we think like a world-class Christian? Well, we have to shift from self-centered thinking to other-centered thinking. 1 Corinthians 14:20 says, "My friends, stop thinking like children. Think like mature people." Children only think of themselves, but grown-ups, they think about others. In Philippians 2:4, it says, "Don't think only about your own affairs, but be interested in others too." We are naturally self-absorbed. The only way we can make this paradigm shift is by a moment-to-moment dependence upon God. On our own, we can't do it, because by nature, self-preservation is like what's built within us. That's instinctual. But the way that we can change from our self-absorbent, self-centered thoughts is by leaning on the Lord, because he's the one that can help us have that change of mentality or have that attitude adjustment. 2 Corinthians 12:2 says, God has given us his spirit. And that's why we don't think the same way that the world or the way that other people think. Believers should ask the Holy Spirit to help us to think of the spiritual need of the unbeliever when we're talking to him. And we had this discussion the other week, and we were talking about when people come to us, how we address them. And there's a way that we can either push people away or we can draw them in. When we're judgmental, we push people away. But when we're humble and we can speak about our own shortcomings and our own faults and things that we have going on, other people are more receptive and they're more apt to listen to you rather than you saying what you should do or thumping them on their chest saying, no, yes, or this is what you should do or what you should not do. You won't get the best results. We catch more bees by using honey rather than using vinegar. We can develop the skill of using silent breath prayers for those that we encounter. We can use examples like, Father, help me to understand what's keeping this person from getting to know you. Our goal is to figure out where others are in their spiritual journey and then do whatever it is to help bring them closer to God. We should have the same mindset as Paul had in 1 Corinthians 10:33, where he says, I don't think about what would be good for me, but about what would be good for many, so that they all, and we all may be saved. That's a proper mind state to have. It's not self-centered, it's other-centered thinking. So we have to shift from local thinking to global thinking as well. God, the living God, is a global God. He always has cared about the entire world. And John 3:16 said he loves the world, or he loved the world so much that he gave his only begotten son. That's true. He loves us all. He loves the Jew and the Gentile, the black,
Mhm.
the white, the male, the female, the young, the old, the believer and the non-believer. He loves us all, and he wants us all to get to know him. Acts 17:26 says, from one person, God made all nations who live on earth. And he decided when and where every nation would be. God has done all of this so that we'll look for him and then reach out and find him. I like that last part of this verse right here, because it says when we reach out, we will find him. You know, the verse over in Matthew 6, where it says, ask and you will receive, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to us. That's us having the right perspective, a right mindset towards being drawn toward the Lord. Our lives are increasingly intertwined with those in other nations as we share fashion, entertainment, music, sports, food. So we're intertwined. We're all interconnected. And that phrase right there just made me think about us being one body made up of many parts. And all of us have a part to play. And because we're from one area, or we are who we are, because someone is different than us doesn't make them so different that they're not a part of the body of Christ, because they are.
Mhm.
Believers are a part of the body of Christ,
Right.
meaning that they may not be believers yet, but they are capable of becoming a part of Christ that can be used. There are more Christians on earth right now than there ever have been before. Colossians 1:6 says, the same good news that came to you is going out all over the world. It's changing lives everywhere, just as it changed us. So we shouldn't be so foolish to think that if somebody is a non-believer or unbeliever right now, that they can't be changed, because we too were changed one day. We haven't always had this maturity and had the belief that we have right now, but we had to be changed because God is an able God. He can change anybody. He can turn the chiefest of sinners around. Let's look at Saul of Tarsus. He was changed into Paul, and he was one of the chiefest sinners on earth. But God used him, and he turned it around and ended up writing 3/4 of the New Testament. Prayer is the most important tool for our mission in the world. People may refuse to love or reject our message, but they're defenseless against our prayers. Ooh, I love that right there. Even if somebody is mad at you, they don't like you, you can just pray for them, and they are defenseless against that. They can't do a thing about it. I love that. We can aim our prayer at a person's heart, whether they're 10 feet or 10,000 miles away.
Amen.
The Bible tells us to pray for opportunities to witness, for our courage to speak up, for those who believe, and for the rapid spread of the message, and for more workers. These are all things that we can ask the Lord for. And we can ask for him to come into our life and ask for us to become a part of what we're asking. Like, we don't want it to just frivolously happen, but we want it to happen, and we want to be part of that change. We want to be part of that opportunity to change and to witness. Prayer makes us a partner with others around the world. So what happened with this verdict that just came out? There were so many people with the same mindset, with the same prayer, that Lord, we hope that we're going to get it right this time. And that oneness of spirit, it means something. It means something. Believe God heard our prayer. And even if he gave a different verdict, he still heard our prayer. And all of us who had the same prayer, we were working together as partners. And it's very important that we do that about a lot of, not just social injustice cause or about one cause, but for all causes. We should try to come together in that oneness of spirit, because the Lord and the word says, where two or more agree, there I shall be. So if we get in that same spirit of agreement, then that's where the power is. So if you have a wagon and you have one person riding down a hill, it'll pick up speed. But put 20 people in that same wagon, it'll go 20 times as fast. So there's power in numbers, and we should come together. And I also like this one right here, that even if you only got 2 teeth, they look better when they're together, you know. So it's good to be together, good to be working in unity with one another. 2 Corinthians 1:11 says, you are also joining to help us when you pray for us. Whenever there's a change or a conflict, we can be sure that God will use that to bring people close to him. This pandemic was one thing. This verdict was another thing. And I mentioned this this past Sunday in my message. I never saw more patriotism than I did on 9/11. Everybody, people of all different walks. You've seen it in New York, you know, as diverse as New York is, all people came together. And not only just in New York, but across the country, because we had a common enemy that we came together to try to, to combat against. So right here, it says, God, whenever there is a change or a conflict, we can be sure that God will use it to draw people close to him and draw people close to one another as well. He's too wise not to use situations for his sake, for his benefit. People are the most receptive when they're under tension or transition.
Yes, yes.
That's pretty important. People are, when they're under tension or transition. And we talked about this before in one of my messages, that there's an upside to bad moods. So they say when you're less comfortable, then that's when you're most focused. When things aren't comfortable, that's when you kind of can dig deep and get into the zone that you're not normally in when you're in the comfort zone. You get more focused. So change happens when we're under tension or when we're transitioning. In Acts chapter 1 and verse 8, Jesus gave us a pattern for involvement. He said, you will tell everybody about me in all of Jerusalem, all of Judah, all of Samaria, and to all nations. So he was basically saying that you should talk to the people that are in your church. You should talk to the people that are not in your church. You should talk to people that don't go to church. You should talk to people who want to come to church, but just don't. So we should talk to all people, every walk of life, every aspect of the society. We need to talk about our salvation. Our mission is simultaneous and it's not sequential. While everyone has the missionary gift, every Christian is called to be on a mission to all. Excuse me, I meant to say, while not everyone has the missionary gift, but everyone should be on a mission. To make the most of our time on earth, we must maintain a positive perspective. And this will keep us from majoring in minor issues and help us distinguish what is urgent and what is ultimate. So don't trade our life for temporary things. We have in our song, it says, build your hopes on things eternal. And don't hold up for yourself things that will rust and that moth can destroy. Build our hopes on things eternal. And, you know, those things that can be taken away, we shouldn't put too much faith in those things. But those things that can't be taken away, like our faith, we should hold on to. Luke 9:62 says, anyone who lets himself get distracted from the work I planned for him is not for the kingdom of God. Hebrews 12:1 says, let us strip off anything that slows us down or that holds us back. Luke 15:9 says, I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourself so that when it's gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings. So it goes on to say we should use the money that God gave us to bring people to Christ. So that's not saying we should try to buy people. That's not what we're saying. But if we have a platform, for example, I'm going to use this as an example. At Juvenile Hall, I work and I like to dress. And the kids look up to me because of the way I dress. And I kind of use that to get their attention, but I don't talk about my clothes. I talk about the other things that can actually help them. But my clothes might have been the thing that kind of drew them towards my attention. So I'm not using them to try to buy them or anything, but I'm using what I have in order to draw them, to get their attention. And I think that's what Pastor Rick was saying right here when he said we should use the money that God gave us to bring people to Christ. And I'm be coming to a close in just 1 minute. We all know the expression, you can't take it with you, but the Bible says we can send it ahead by investing in people who are going to be there. 1 Timothy 6:19 says, by doing this, they will be storing up real treasure for themselves in heaven. It's the only safe investment for eternity. And they will be living a fruitful Christian life down here as well. So when we do things like that, we're we're building up equity for us to be able to get into the kingdom, but we're also doing it to help us live a better life here. So it's in our best interest to really try to draw people into the kingdom, to use the skills and talents and our resources to try to bring people into the fold, not only for eternity's sake, but also for what we're doing right now. I'm about to get ready to close, but we should shift our thinking of excuses to thinking of creative ways to fill our commission. If we are willing, there's always a way to get things done. And here are some common excuses that people use not to get things done. I only speak English. So this is just an excuse. Like if you're in a situation, people will say, well, you know what, I only speak English. But if you're in a different place where people would like to learn how to speak English, then you can use that for your benefit. I don't have anything to offer. We all have something to offer. This is an excuse. And if we tell ourselves we don't have anything to offer, then guess what? We're probably right. But if we tell ourselves we do have something to offer, then guess what? We're probably right as well.
That's right.
Saying I'm too old or I'm too young, that's not an excuse neither. I was just saying this past week that no matter what age we are, we all have something to do with the rest of our life. Whether we're young, whether we're old, whether we're in the mid stages of our life, we all have something to do with the rest of our life. Jeremiah 1:7 says, don't say that, the Lord replied, for you must go wherever I send you and say whatever I tell you. And don't be afraid of the people, for I will be with you and I will take care of you. That's good news. We don't have to speak up for Christ. We should unmute our mic for Christ, like I was saying Sunday. And a microphone is a tool that's used to amplify our voice. So we should amplify our voice for Christ. We should unmute our mic for Christ. And we don't have to be afraid to do that, because even in Jeremiah 1:7, it says, for I will be with you and I will take care of you. We're all called to fulfill God's 5 purposes for our lives. Number 1 is to worship. Number 2 is to fellowship. Number 2 is to grow like Christ. That was 3, excuse me. Number 4 is to serve. And number 5 is to be on a mission to bring the word into the world. We are called to be on a mission for God. He wants the whole church to spread the whole gospel to the whole world. Many Christians never ask, God, what do you want me to do? And where do you want me to go and do your service? But if we ask God, he will answer. And even if he doesn't want us to do anything, he'll answer that. He'll say, I don't want you to do a thing. Whether he wants us to get busy or he wants us to sit still, it's up to us to go to God and seek that. We ought to pray and ask God what he wants from us in years to come. If we want to be like Jesus, we must have the heart, have a heart for the whole world. We can't be satisfied with just our family, our friends, or our own personal needs. Jesus said in Mark chapter 8 and verse 35, only those who throw away their lives for my sake and for the sake of the good news will ever know what it really means to live. The Great Commission is our commission, and doing our part is the secret of living a life of significance. Tonight, our point to ponder is the Great Commission is my commission. The verse to remember is send us around the world with the news of your saving power and your eternal plan for mankind. And our question to consider is, what steps can I take to prepare to go on a short-term mission the next year, in this next year? And a short-term mission could be just going to the marketplace, or where having a family gathering. You can go on, you could be on the mission of saving lives and to mentioning the good news during that time. So, becoming a world-class Christian. It's going to be a great discussion. I'm looking forward to what everybody has to say. And today I'm going to ask that Aunt Marva start us out.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I really thought I wasn't going to be the first one. That's okay. That's okay. Our Bible will start. Anyway, I know we all keep saying this, but we all seem to come to a chapter in this book, a day in this book that convicts us, and then we think we've really convicted, and then we come to one that really convicts us, and this one was my convicting book. But I just want to point out that in all this time that we've been studying really out of the pandemic. Okay, we started studying during the pandemic, and as long as it's in season, we're still doing it together. Okay,
Yes.
and it's a season that we didn't expect to be going on this long, but it's here, and God for some reason is allowing it, and He's the only one that knows the reason, because He's sovereign, and we just can't change that. He allowed this. Okay, and I didn't even realize until you were just reading the same scripture that came into my spirit is the same one that I pulled here. He tells us in Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And when we are facing difficult situations like during this pandemic, many of us have, many people have faced a lot of difficulties. Today, we as Christians can take comfort in that verse, that scripture, okay? Knowing that it's not a promise that handles immediate hardship, but it's a long-term promise. It's a promise that tells us that don't worry about anything now, because regardless of what this current situation looks like, God is telling us, I'm going to take care of you. So don't worry about it, okay? So whatever that taking care of us looks like, we've got to trust Him. So when I'm reading that, I go back to day 38. And it starts with a strong statement and ends with that same statement. And Larry, you read it twice tonight too, that the Great Commission, your commission. And when I saw that I'm saying, Pastor, you talking to me, but the Great Commission is my commission. Okay. And if I ask myself if I've done a really super job at doing what the commission says, to go out into the world and spread the gospel, I don't know that I can say that I have. I know that I can say that when Christ sends someone my way, and He's urging me to do something, that I respond. I know that I do that, but I don't know that I've done all that He wants me to do. And so even when I know I've said it in the past, but I've dropped it. When people say, I can hardly wait for this time to be over, so we can go back to normal.
Yeah.
In God's plan, I don't know that we're going back to what is normal.
Right.
Okay. And so I have to continue to wait on Him, and I have to continue to seek Him, and I have to continue to see what He wants. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I think that I have a lot of work to do my part to make that Great Commission my commission. And I believe that when we reflect on the first church, that's where my head went, Acts 2:46, that we see, I wrote this out to see if I can read it, that we see these words, that the people then were on one accord.
Mm.
And I think
Mhm.
you mentioned it. I wrote they're having the same mind of Christ.
Yeah.
They weren't wandering all over the place. They were really together. And they were the first Christians. They continued to meet daily. Okay. When I thought about that, I thought, well, before COVID, we really weren't.
Mm.
You know, many of us would go to church on Sunday,
Mhm.
and then the rest of the week, we may or may not have participated in another Bible study or anything else.
Yes.
Next, we went back to church the following Sunday.
Yeah.
The Great Commission tells us to go therefore
Mm.
out. They didn't tell us to stay in the church, in the building. It
Mhm.
said go therefore out. So were we really doing that? And were we really, doing what the Lord tells us to do? They continue to meet daily, and they were really helping each other. They took what they had and they shared it among each other. They met in the temple court
Mhm.
and they met at houses. They did not meet in a church building necessarily. Okay.
Right. Right.
So where the Lord has put all of us with this COVID, we are meeting.
Mm.
And the same technology that he taught man to use,
Yeah.
by hook or crook, we are using that same technology to use to do what? To study his word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're doing it, many of us, 3, 4, 5 times a week.
Yeah.
Some of us, okay? We find ourselves so busy with studying the Lord's word that we don't have time, for anything else. And I can't help but feel, the Lord didn't talk to me and tell me this, but I can't help but feel that the Lord always takes whatever we plan to do. And for us, it might have been the status quo. And he always takes our plans and he kind of laughs at them.
Yeah.
And then he puts his plan into place. Okay.
Mhm.
So the plan that he put into place was one that would tie us down and make us become more creative in taking that commission out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've done it through, we're doing it through technology. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm cutting a lot because I was writing like a crazy person. So would any of us have been discipling each other in Larry's class, for example, like we were doing on Wednesdays? Would we have seen like in our case, our virtual Sunday school attendance has doubled,
Mhm.
okay? And in that class, we have people who were non-believers who are coming to Christ.
Yeah.
And when they come to Sunday school, they have the hard questions to ask those of us who call ourselves Christians, the world-class Christians.
Yes.
They're coming to us and they're saying, well, why is this so-and-so in the Bible? And why did Christ do so-and-so? And they're forcing us to work and to think. And then many of us are calling, many of the people that are calling in, George talked about Daily Dose of Devotion tonight. There are about 120, 150 people calling in every single night since March 19th without missing a day.
Wow.
And they have called in every single night, Monday, Sunday through, for the entire week.
Mhm.
And these people are calling from Louisiana and Mississippi and North Carolina and Oakland, California. So we didn't go take the Lord's word out like he told us to do. So guess what? He's getting us to do it anyhow. You see?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, Lord, you are a marvel. God's word, that same word that is living and active and sharper than a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
that same word that pierces our spirit and soul, that same word that discerns our thoughts and our actions and our hearts,
Yes.
the same word that tells the gospel story, that same word that we were supposed to be going out and teaching as part of the Great Commission.
Mhm.
Whether we liked it or not, the Lord is having us to do that.
Yeah.
And he is making us do it. And
Yeah.
guess what? We're loving it. We're enjoying it. And we're spreading his word in ways that we didn't think we would ever have been doing. Okay, so my thinking is that we may be in this state for a while.
Mhm.
It is growing churches. It is still bringing in tithes and offerings to the churches.
Mhm.
I went by my church today to pick up a book. They were in the sanctuary with tons of food and stuff, preparing boxes for mission. They were doing mission work.
Yes.
So, you know, we have to stay in prayer,
Mhm.
asking God to help us to adjust
Mhm.
to the time that He has us in, and letting Him know that no matter what, we're in these times and we're going to make it work by following whatever He leads us to do.
Mhm.
So that's where this chapter took me. It said, you know, the Great Commission is your commission, and whatever the cost,
Yeah.
whatever the cost, the
Wow.
Lord is waiting for you to carry that out.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Thank you so
So
much.
that's where it took me this time.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned a lot of the same things that I mentioned. That's that oneness of spirit again. And I
Mhm.
like what you were saying about, it's going to happen no matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what. And that reminded me that I don't know what chapter it's in, but they said that the dry bones would cry out. If we
Amen.
don't do it, so it's gonna happen no matter what.
In Ezekiel, yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
It's Ezekiel. I was reading it yesterday, Larry.
Yes, see? so no matter what. So we should get in on the same frequency with God, because it's gonna happen no matter what. And so it's in our
Mhm.
best interest to get in where we fit in, or else we get left behind, because it's gonna
That's
happen.
right. That's right.
And then when you were talking about doing things on one accord, so we're spread all across the nation, right? But we
Mhm.
still have that oneness of spirit, and we find our way every week to get right here again. We're on
That's
that
right.
one accord, and we
We're
don't
on that
have to be
one.
doing this. This is not somebody twisting our arm telling us we got to do this. We're doing it because we have that spirit to be able to do it. And we're on that one accord. We're in that on one accord to want to get here and fellowship and do what we're doing. And then go out. Literally, this is what the Lord has done. You were talking about that. Going out, we don't even have to leave the house now.
Right.
We're reaching out right here on social media, and
Mm-hmm.
the social media, all these tools, they've been here. This Zoom,
Yeah.
Facebook, it's nothing new. It's new to
Yeah.
us, but it was because God introduced it to us, and He said,
Amen.
"You know what? I want you to use it, not for the other sake of everything else. I want you to use it for my name's sake." And
Amen.
it's spread like wildfire now, and we're using the tools that the world has used for its purposes. Now we're using it for His name.
For God's purpose. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing all that. I'm glad I recorded this, because I want to go back and listen to what you were saying, because that you just dropped some nuggets on us right there. you dropped
They were
some basic
dropping.
nuggets.
Yeah, I missed devotion tonight because I started writing stuff down and couldn't stop. And then George told me what a good devotion it was, but it's really convicting.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
really convicting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Auntie.
You're welcome. God
Um,
bless you. Thank God.
Praise God. Brother Elton, I'm gonna ask you to speak next, if you will.
Who is that?
Elton.
Brother Elton.
I take it out mute. All right. Hey,
No,
man.
mute your mic, baby.
As I say, stay ready.
Right.
No, but it's just a convicting, because you want to do more, but sometimes you're not able to do more. Especially when I was growing up, I was all here about apartheid, and when I first heard that word, just in passing, so I just kept going. But then I seen the protests on TV. Then they always pass out information, and on the streets, the Muslims was always passing out a newspaper. One day I decided to pick one up, purchased one, and then I started to read it and understand that what was going on. You know, Nelson Mandela was fighting for justice for his people, just like we in America fight for justice. You know, and all I can do is, you know, just pray for the people because they was the same color as me.
Yeah.
And you see how the media portrayed Nelson Mandela, you know, and then you see how all the leaders before him and now him, and you think about Gandhi, think about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and all those leaders, how they demonized them, but it was out for justice, for the, you know, for the Black people, how they've been mistreated. And, you know, I wasn't able to do much, but I learned to pray.
Yeah.
And I, you know, by reading this, you sometimes you be doing it, but then when you start reading and study, you understand that you're already doing it, but you're not aware that you're doing it, but you're on the right road.
Yeah.
I learned the power of prayer and power of fasting and how God can do some things. And when Gandhi, you know, he fasted 21 days, bring about a change for his people. The justice that was out there, Martin Luther King, and so many others that have paved the way before them.
Right.
Even during slavery, people that we may not even know about that stuck their lives out to bring about a change. And you may not be everywhere, but thank God when I became a Christian and learned about God and that He can be everywhere. So that kind of eased the burden. You know, I can't do it. You know, that's why I'm thank God my soul is anchored in the Lord, because I know I serve a all intimate, all God, all knowing God, all everywhere. You know, He's a provider. He can make a way. You know, when I was in school, you know, mother gets sick, I try to get a plane home, you know, but sometimes she wouldn't even tell me because she wanted me to stay there and finish school. But one thing I learned about prayer, no matter where I'm at, I know He can do it. Well, I'm in Texas or California or wherever, I know God can do it. I don't have to be present. Jesus healed many people when they came to Him because of their faith. And when they got back to the way it was at, their daughter was healed or whoever was praying for, they was healed at that instant, at that time and moment because of their faith. So the power of prayer and fasting is you know, that eased my pain, my guilt, because I couldn't be there, but I know that my prayer, you know, God can answer prayer. Yeah. And we, you know, we got to stay focused, you know, and understand that all the destruction that's been going on. Even I was thinking about Greenwood, the Tulsa massacre in 1921. You know, and what happened in there because of the racism that is so deep, not only in the United States but all throughout the world. I think about the soccer players. You know, the brother was on here, play soccer. You do it in Europe and all the other countries. They play soccer, but they have to go through. Yeah. You know, I listened to Brian Gumble on Inside Sports, and the how they're being ridiculed about, you know, people throw bananas at them, call them monkeys, and it just, you know, you just see that, you know, even though we in the United States, people are suffering all over. Yeah, you can't get all over, but you can pray for them because you know they're going through the same stuff you going through. And I'm thinking in 2nd or 1 Corinthians, God comfort us with the same comfort we ourselves have been comforted. When we go through things, God comfort us so we can comfort somebody else. Yeah, we're going through the same thing. So I might have been, you know, through all the, you know, the movement and stuff like that, but when I did realize that, I understood that, you know, if I was of that age, I'll be out there with them. And I, you know, because I'm with TCU, I see in California, it's subtle racism, but in the South, it is what it is. Yeah. Coaches, you know, they don't say it. You know, they look at you, they give you with that eye. They look, you know, you mess with somebody that's different color. You know, but I went to CCU, you know, a couple of years ago back. Now it's, you know, interracial relationships all over the place. But back then when I was going, it was an unwritten code. You know? You know, there's a lot of white girls might say their parents disown them, they mess with a black athlete or something like that. You know, it was out there. But now because of over time, you know, people have, because of the interracial marriages and like I said, that young generation, it just that it's not the same. You know, it's because of that, it's not the same. You know, they have, in other words, that's why they're not fearful.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they understand, you know, a change has got to come. It's especially, you know, all the history they've been taught, or how all the history been, you know, been told. So in order to make a change, you know, you see the movement, and it's because, you know, it's the timing is so right. You know, I would look at, you know, George Floyd, I think about when they started water hosing folks, you know, on TV, that brought about a change.
Yeah.
When, you know, and all the incidents with other incidents, you know, so many others that brought about a change. And so when I look about being on this mission, I thank God for giving me the strength to pray. I can't be everywhere, but, you know, God can. And that's what, you know, kept me on this journey. You got to be rooted, because if you look at the world is so heavy, it's on your shoulder, it's depressing. But if you anchor yourself in the Lord and focus, like Martha said, about praying and staying in the Word and being so busy, God give you that peace.
Yeah.
Give you that strength, to courage to go on just one more day. I've got in the Bible where it says, you know, they ask for how long. You know, God wants everyone to be saved. You know, He said we all have sinned, but He wants everyone to be saved. So in other words, everyone to the four corners of the world, you know, and through this internet and other means of getting the word out, you know, the word is getting out there. So we just got to, the Lord said, be patient and wait, but at the same time, it's frustrating. It's, you know, vengeance is mine, said the Lord. That's why I got to remind myself. In other verses, stand on the promises of God. You know, the battle is not yours, but the Lord's.
Yeah.
So, you know, He tells you when to fight, when not to fight. So you got to be patient. But when you see all this destruction, you know, you get angry, frustrated, and you want eye for the eye. But when you get into the Word, He give you that answer. It talks about, you know, on His timing. These things He talk about, these days gonna come.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got to stay focused and stay rooted in the Word and know that, you know, God is with us every step of the way. So,
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Brother Elton. I sure appreciate it. And the thing I want to take from what you were talking about was how your prayer it's not limited. And in our reading, it talked about how people are defenseless against prayer. You know, you can pray for somebody and it's gonna happen. What you're praying about is gonna happen whether they want it to happen or not. And you know, it said that you can pray for somebody and it'll hit their heart, whether they're 10 feet away or 10,000 miles away. It don't matter. You know, they're defenseless against that prayer. So our prayers are omniscient. And that's what you were talking about. And when you pray with faith, that's how it travels outside of you. If you're in the church, you don't stay inside the four walls. It goes outside of there because of your faith. If you send it, then it won't return to you. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And that power, the power that's in prayer is one of the things that can definitely keep us in that world-class area, because that's what changes things. That's what changes things. So thank you. I see. Let's have Uncle Mort maybe have an opportunity to join in now.
I put him on the fire so soon. I thought.
And I see you smiling, and I know you're gonna have something for us.
Yeah, not much really, though, but I give you something. This past Monday, I stopped at the pharmacy to pick up some medication for my eye, and it happened that I was wearing my badge because I still work, you know. I was wearing my badge, and the young lady said, you work for Carmanos. Carmanos is a cancer institute here in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yes, I do. And she told me I had radiation with them
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago. I said, how are you doing now? She said, well, I'm feeling a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her, well, you went to the right place, because I said, I've been working with them now for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I did 42 treatments, radiation treatments, and I'm not having any problem. Everything been going good.
Praise God.
She was kind of down, so I told her, I said, don't worry. Remember, God is in control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he'll be there to watch over you all the way. You just do what you have to do and keep praying.
Mm.
And I left there feeling, in a way, that she was talking to me and looking at me. Like, I didn't go there for that purpose. I wanted to pick up some medication to pay for it and leave.
Yeah.
But I ended up actually doing a little preaching to her,
Yeah.
and uplifting her.
Yeah.
And then it reminded me of when some time ago I was chosen to be the captain for an ushering team back home in Panama.
Uh-huh.
And when I got there, people were complaining a lot of different complaints about this and that. And I took them to Colossians.
Mm.
Colossians 3, where it's telling you that whatever you do it for God.
Yeah.
And I can't remember all of the words right now.
Yeah.
But that was every month that I did my my schedule for the ushering team.
Yeah.
That was the last message below, telling them that remember, they weren't doing it for themselves, they're doing it for God. And it worked out. I had one of the best teams down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying that this is the way we reach out to people at times, This one girl got really mad because somebody told her the skirt was too tight. And she shouldn't have gone up there in tight skirts. And she was offended by it and she wanted to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I said, don't quit the group because you're not working for them.
Right.
You're working for God.
Yeah.
Change her spirit and she changed her way. She dressed in a different way for people not to complain. And everything worked out much better.
Yeah.
That's all I have for you for now, Larry.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was perfect. That was right on time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got something from that. Whatever we do it for God. If we doing it for God, then it will succeed. And when we allow our best, I always like the saying, Uncle Mort, that when we allow our best to become God's best, then supernatural things happen.
Right.
And, I love what you were talking about when you said you went into the pharmacy for a whole different reason, for an entirely different reason.
Right.
But God had a plan and a purpose for you to go in there, and was to help that young lady. That's world-class, being a world-class Christian right there, Uncle.
Thank you.
That is definitely being a world-class Christian. And that's what we all called to do. And I was getting off the freeway on my way to get ready to prepare for this. And there was a man sitting on the side of the freeway, asking for money. And I was like, I think I got some change. So I looked in my wallet, I had $1 and I gave it to him. But when he stood up, I didn't see this at the time, but he had no fingers on one hand.
Wow.
He was on a crutch and he had a boot on one of his legs. And I mean, he was just in the condition to where I was like, I was going to give him $1. I wanted to give him more because of the condition that he was in. And I believe that God has sent me on the freeway to give him some, because there was a whole bunch of other cars that just passed him by. But he stopped on me so that I could be the one that to give it to him. And it wasn't because of me, but I think it was the Lord that was drawing me towards him.
Right.
So, when you were saying what you did at the pharmacy, that's what that reminded me of.
Thank you.
Yes, so thank you. Appreciate you sharing. And I kind of introduced everybody to introduce you to everybody, but as everybody can tell, this is Uncle Mort, and hopefully you will be joining us again and moving forward, because we're in this as a family together.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. So next I see Sister Jewel on my screen. With Sister Jewel, do you have something to share?
We first for last.
Yes, I do. Wow, after those powerful testimonies, it doesn't take much to move me when you're talking about the Lord,
Yeah.
but only what you do for Christ will last.
Yes.
Whatever you do,
Yeah.
do it for God. I think that says it all, because I think Elton said that, Willie, when he was talking. What he was actually saying was, whatever you do, do it for God.
Mm-hmm.
You may not be able to be one of the leaders out there, but you can pray, do it for God.
Yeah.
Sister Turner, Sister Marva, God is telling us he's going to take care of us. And the Great Commission is our commission. Whatever you do, do it for God. And strangely enough, Marva, I myself looked at Acts also. I actually went back and reviewed the first and the second chapter, because I always like to go and look at those chapters whenever they've been mentioned, and sometimes when they haven't, to see if I still have the same understanding of the church being on one accord and of the same mind. And I always looked that they had everything in common. They took care of one another. There was no Social Security. The church took care of its own. They did not go outside taking care of the world first, I'm sorry to tell you.
Right.
They
Right.
took care of their own first.
Yeah.
They stayed there and they prayed, and they sent out representatives from the church, sometimes 2 at a time. And of course, they also prayed, as Paul says in Ephesians, praying always. And for me, as a representative of all those churches, that worth would be given to him, that he, as first God's representative, everybody who prayed for Paul were partakers, as he said in Philippians, partakers of his grace. So everybody who prayed for him or supported him in any way, they were also ministering. They were also going out on world-class missions with him by their prayers, by their support of him, and all the other ones who went out. And so everything the Testament said tonight has really hit on that same thing, and so touched Mark, that having overcome such a time in your life, that you could then encourage others, and that God is you right where you are.
Right.
Right where you are. As Marva said, her church is now has people on the Zoom. Here we're going into other places, and so he will just use you for his grace, to take his. You may not even know whose lives you're touching. You may never know how far what you said went, how many lives that touched. But God will surely use you if you do it for God. So thanks for this lesson. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister Drew. I appreciate that. And only what you do for Christ will last. I dropped the mic right there. I mean, that is it. Only what we do will last. I mean, we can do whatever we want. We have freedom of choice.
Yeah.
But only what we do for Christ is gonna last. And I can just hang my hat on that. Now, I can't say too much more to add to that. But you did say something about the first Christians in Acts. They took care of themselves first. Wow. I didn't think about that. You said they did go out and they preached all next, but first they put on their own mask. And we got to do the same thing. We got to take care of each other first and take care of ourselves first. And then we can go out and be more effective in our service.
Yes.
I love that. Appreciate you sharing that, Sister Jewel. And I wrote that down because I'm gonna add that into my narrative next time. That only what we do is for Christ, and that we have to put on our own mask first. And I'm gonna go back and read that Acts chapter 2, because it's been a while since I've read that. And but I want to hear how those first Christians were behaving, so I can try to emulate what they were doing. Because what you were describing, what Aunt Marva was describing, is something that I think we should be working towards. Being like those first Christians. So thank you so much, Sister Jewel. And it looks like I see. Is this First Lady or a pastor on?
First Lady.
Hey, how you doing, Mom?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you. Hello to everyone.
Hello.
Oh,
Good to see everybody. It's good to see everybody. I was listening at the lesson and becoming a world-class Christian. And the one thing I got from that is this is a lifelong journey.
Yes, it is.
We don't become a world-class Christian overnight.
Come on.
We don't become a world-class Christian because we join church.
Woo.
We don't become a world-class Christian because we sing in the choir.
Come
We
on.
have a beautiful voice, or we preach the word. That's not how we become a world-class Christian.
Yes.
We become a world-class Christian by studying God's word,
Mhm.
asking questions, loving each other, living our life the way that He would have us to do it.
Yes.
Listen at Minister Johnson when he says he loves to wear clothes to work
Mhm.
because the kids look up to him.
Yeah.
They're looking to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when you think, the very time that you think you're not making an impact, guess what?
That's right.
They might not do something wrong because all of a sudden that vision of you shows up
Yeah.
as a
Mhm.
world-class man, not necessarily a Christian,
Mm.
but they see world-class in you.
Amen.
And so
Amen.
this lesson tonight really just hits home all over the place.
Yes,
It
it
tells
does.
us how to be a world-class Christian
mhm.
no matter where we are.
Right.
And like Aunt Marva said, we have reached so many more people
Yes.
by Zoom, things that we never would have thought of using
Mhm.
because we didn't think it worked. Well, guess what? It works.
God
And
knows.
so
God knows.
becoming a world-class Christian just means, like Michelle Obama says, becoming. We haven't gotten there yet, but we're going to get there. It's a lifelong journey, and I thank you so much, Minister Johnson, for, first of all, teaching this book. And these lessons are forever embedded in my heart.
Amen.
I'm not on every week, but I am reading my lessons every week. And
Man.
tonight I was thinking, oh, I forgot Bible study because someone had called me for something else. And so I decided tonight, turning the phone off, I'm going to get on Bible study tonight. I thank you so much for your lesson. I thank everyone for your input because it helps to know that we're all in this together.
Mhm.
So everyone have a wonderful evening. I've enjoyed it, and I'm going to be on to hear what everybody else got to say.
I'm so glad you decided to get on tonight.
I
Can
am
you-
too.
Yeah, because you just said a mouthful. And I wouldn't dare to try to follow it up, but the first part of what you were saying, that you don't get to become a world-class Christian because you go to church, or because
Right.
you sing in the choir, or because you got a title, or because you think you are all that in the bag of potato chips. You get to become a world-class Christian because of the work that you do.
Yes.
That's what it boils down to. Sister Jewel just said it. Only what you do for Christ
Well, last.
is the only thing that's important. So that's that oneness of spirit. You guys said two different things, but with the same meaning. So I'm so glad that you decided to get on tonight because I needed to hear that,
Hallelujah.
and you blessed me because of it. I appreciate it. And all your other comments too. I'm glad you jumped on. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, that was very good. I appreciate it.
Hallelujah.
Amen. Amen. And I'm gonna ask that Brother Tommy and Sister Tina share now if you guys have something to share.
Okay, I'll go. Uncle Mort, you're up in Michigan?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about global Christian. So
Yeah.
if you draw a line from Uncle Mort in Michigan down to Eldon in Texas,
Huh.
and then you draw a line where Larry's at in California, to
Yeah.
where Aunt Marva and Mother Joyce is at in Florida, what do we have?
Mhm.
Ah,
All
We have
right.
a cross.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
all right.
Hey. It's glorious.
So we're doing God's work right here. We're on the cross.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Amen.
We're on the cross, and none of us can be all over the United States, but as Eldon said, our prayers are covering the entire United States.
Yeah.
So tonight,
Yes,
the
they
United
are.
States is safe because we're global Christians and we're
Come on, Brother
in
Tom.
prayer.
Yes, sir.
From
Yes,
one end of the United States, north to south, east to west.
Yes.
And we let our light shine wherever we go. So your globe is in whatever area. If you're at work or if you're in the marketplace, that's your globe.
Yes.
And you let your light shine like Uncle did, talking to the lady about what God has done for him.
Yeah.
As Ellen said, God is everywhere. We can't be everywhere, but God is everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yes,
Everywhere.
yes,
And
he is.
during the George Floyd, they showed a small shack in Africa, and someone had a picture of George Floyd on the shack.
Wow.
So God is everywhere.
Everywhere.
And it would be, and we have to do our part wherever we are. It would be like Harriet Tubman. I got to go to Europe to free some slaves. You got slaves right here, Harriet. So it'd be like your house is on fire, but you're gonna go down the street and save the neighbor's house.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
We have work in our own backyard.
Yeah.
Everyone work their own backyard from Detroit to Texas, from California to Florida. God's work is done, and
Yes.
He's thrown watching us and smiling because we're doing His work.
Amen. Amen.
I'm done.
Woo! Drop the mic. Drop the Thank you, Brother Tommy. That was deep.
Yes.
The United States is a safer place. Amen. Amen. We're doing our part. Yes, and everywhere we go, we got to let our little light shine.
Let our little light shine.
Right.
Basic
In the marketplace.
the first thing our parents taught us, the first song we all learned.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let it shine.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Let it shine. Thank you, Brother Tommy. Sister Tina?
Okay.
No pressure now.
I already got to drop the mic on that one. Good.
Yeah.
I believe that as we study the Bible, Bible comes within us. We take us everywhere.
Right.
And as long as we are studying the word and to the point where it's not studying, it's pure enjoyment. You know, when you watch a movie, I know some of us have seen a show at least 2 or 3 times. Even a comedy show, and we still laugh at the same joke first time. But
Yes.
we enjoy but we enjoy doing that. So
Mhm.
when we get to studying the Bible so much that it comes to where we enjoy it, and we didn't read Genesis chapter 16, verse 2, like I don't know how many times, we're not bored. We are happy that we're reading it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, yes.
When we talk with people, we're not preaching, we are letting God come out, which is already in us.
Come on now.
Mhm.
So we are having a conversation using God. And when we do something that we truly enjoy,
Mm.
or listen to something that we truly enjoy, we take it with us.
Yeah.
You know, if we walk and we taking our we're taking our phone with us. If we're like to read a book, we taking that with us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and if you enjoy the Bible, you are taking the Bible with you on your phone, or you carrying it. When you have downtime, that's what you're reading, because you
Exactly.
truly enjoy. And guess what? Somebody will be next to you while you reading it.
Mhm.
And you're not, and all you doing is something that you enjoy. I remember when I used to be a union rep, and we had negotiations, and that would take days and hours, and it would be a lot of break time, because we would discuss proper proposals, and then one team or one company or the union would say, well, we're going to think about it. So we're going to take a 20-minute break or half an hour break. I would bring out the Bible and I would read it, or I would have it on my phone and I would read it. And I was doing that every meeting because that's what I enjoy. And someone would always ask me, what are you doing? You're so into it. And the opportunity right there. And all I was doing was talking.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm talking, and then sometime I would even make it a story, and they wouldn't even realize that I am saying a passage in the Bible. You know, I would one time I said, "Oh, I'm reading about this lady. She had two sons, and then she lost her sons, and then she had the two daughters." And it was like, wow. And I said, and then, you know, everything was all bad, and she felt so sad. And she told one daughter that she had to leave.
Come on.
I mean, if she wanted to, she could leave. The other one said, well, I'm staying.
Come on
And
now.
it really had their attention because they enjoyed the story, but I was telling them scripture.
Come on.
Oh, and so when you truly enjoy it, you automatically spreading the word, because the word is in you and you are everywhere.
Yes.
Remember, my cousin got married, Cassandra Elton, and we had went out there to LA, and we had got a suite with rooms, and Elton was reading the Bible. And so I wasn't really studying the Bible at that time. And so now the second day, he's doing it again. So I said, and then he was, I don't know if you guys can see me, but this is what he was doing. I'm like, what are you doing? Are you okay? He said, I'm memorizing scriptures. I said, I wish I could do that. He said, he told me, and it stuck with me. He says, you memorize it, and then you close the book. You might forget it that day, but you'll have it when you need it.
Come on. Come on.
Wow.
So that stuck with me, because I used to get frustrated because people would quote the scriptures. And I'm like, I couldn't do that. But Elton told me that when you close it, you might forget it, but want it, you will need, when you need it, you will have it. And that stuck with me. But when you carry yourself a certain way, and when you do what you enjoy doing, you're gonna spread the word anyway. Hey, you gotta go out and preach the word. That people panic because you have to do something you're not used to doing, but not realizing that if that's what you enjoy doing, you're doing it anyway.
That's right.
So you talking to someone and the word is gonna come out. Whether you say, God bless your day, oh, I'm having a good day, God is so good. You're constantly doing scripture to someone. And I'm this scripture, because to me, this is so important. This is 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. And it states, but in your heart, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you the reason for your hope that you have.
Yes.
This is the important part right here. But do this with gentleness and respect. Don't want anybody to listen to you. And if you respect them and also listen to what they have to say, they will also listen to what you have to say. But be gentle with it and be respectful.
Yes.
Give the word. Thank you, Larry.
Oh, thank you so much.
Wow, very good.
You did an excellent job following up, Brother Tommy. Tommy, she cleaned that up for you.
Look, I'm trying to be serious.
I love what you had to say.
I think you should put a time limit on, Larry. Just because you talk long, don't make it right.
It was right on time. How about that? Yes, but I love what you said about carrying God with you everywhere you go.
Everywhere.
When you read the Bible, you're carrying him with you wherever you go.
Everywhere.
That is awesome. I appreciate that. So I'm gonna keep that in my spirit and in my mind. And that reminded me of American Express. You know, they say don't leave home without it. Don't leave home without that word, or don't leave home without the word in your heart. And then you talked about you was telling the story about Naomi. Am I right? Is that the right person?
That's it. Yes.
So you were disguising the story, scripture in the story. That reminded me of how, as parents, we would fool the kids into eating their vegetables, right? You snuck the scripture in on them, like we would sneak the vegetables in on the kids, right? Yes. And so I mean, you said so many more other nuggets and everybody heard it, so I won't repeat them, but those right there are ones that stood out to me, and I appreciate you sharing that. Your iron sharpened my iron for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'm gonna ask Mama Jordan to share if you have something.
Okay.
You're not last, because I see my mom on it. I didn't see you on there. Hey, Mom. After Mama Jordan, okay, Mom?
You know, it says here that wherever there is change or conflict, you can be sure that God will use it to bring people to him. And then it goes on to talk about people are most receptive to God when they're under tension and so forth and so on. And, you know, and I think about it that when Rick Warren wrote this book so many years ago, he had no idea that we'd be in the situation that we're in today.
Right.
And here it is that all changes were made, and God has brought us all together in so many ways. You know, this Bible studies here, and as Tommy said, we're all over the country.
Yes.
We're still together as one tonight.
Right.
Every Wednesday night.
Right.
And last Sunday, my circle, we had our circle meeting, which is every third Sunday of the month. And for the first time, we did it on Zoom. All of last year, we were on conference call, and it was so noisy. So they got together, and you know.
I'm sorry, Mama Jordan. 1 second. Can I ask everybody to put their phone on mute until it's time for you to talk? Because I'm getting feedback over here.
Oh, okay. So yes, two of the ladies in the circle got together, and were able to train us on one Saturday. We all met and got trained on how to use Zoom and everything. And we had a meeting on Sunday. And we have, for the last year, the last couple of years, we've been studying from a book called The Women of the Bible. And each Sunday we discuss one woman. So last year we were discussing Anna, one of those Sundays. And one of the circle members said that she was telling her sister-in-law about it. And the sister-in-law got excited because her name is Anna. She wanted to know if she could join us. We said, yeah, of course she can. So next thing you know, both of her sister-in-laws have joined us. So just a minute, I'm sorry. Both of her sister-in-laws have joined us. And from time to time, we have other visitors, like, we've had one of the members brought her mother, her 96-year-old mother, on last year. And so this past Sunday, someone asked the question, well, when the church gets back together in the building, I'd like to join the circle, but I live in Manteca. So how will that work? And we told her, we don't intend to ever stop doing this. We don't know when the church is going to go back into the building. But even when they do, we can see that we will continue this because it works for us, And so this change that God brought about has been so beneficial to all of us. I joined a yoga class. One of the ladies in the class is in Kenya. So when we are doing our class, it's like 9:30 at night for her. I recently was invited to a birthday celebration for one of my friends who just turned 80. We had a lady there from Dubai, and we had one from England. So the same way that we were meeting on a social gathering, we're able to do this globally for the Lord as well. Because there are now there's now prayer circles that are not just extended here in the United States, but it's all over the world. Bible studies all over the world.
Yep.
So this has been a beautiful change.
Yeah.
And the prayer is so important, that he said that it's the most important tool you're reaching in this world. And as we say, as we talked about it before, you can pray for people. They may not want you to pray for them. Pray for them anyway.
Yep.
And when they give, whenever I hear let's say on Sunday morning, when they give the information, the prayer list and of the people that have passed away or the people that are on the sick list, I just add them to my prayer list.
Yeah.
A lot of them I don't know, but that doesn't matter. God just asks us to pray for everyone.
Yeah.
And in the days when Jesus commissioned them to go everywhere with the gospel, you look back at in those days, they were on foot most of the times, or maybe on donkeys. That was their mode of transportation, or camels.
Yeah.
But now today we have all these modes of transportation. And the best part of all of this is that we have the internet.
Yeah.
So we can reach anybody, anywhere. Look at what happened with George Floyd. When this incident happened with him last year, there were people all over the world.
Yeah.
All over the world. And just think if there was a prayer chain that could have been created somehow.
Yeah.
Globally. Just think what a powerful thing that would be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as everyone said, I really, really enjoyed this chapter. Because we you know, we are commissioned,
Yeah.
you know, and you've read that for years in the Bible, you're just thinking of what the commission that was given to them then.
Right.
That still holds true for all of us today,
Yes, it does.
you know.
Yeah.
And before, I just want to tell you that when I invited my brother to join us,
Mhm.
sent him the book, and when he got the book, he thought his grandson had bought the book for him, or because he said his grandson is reading that book,
Come on now.
you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
The same spirit.
the same spirit,
Oneness of spirit again,
right?
working in life. Yeah. It's no coincidence, Mom. You know, it's not an accident, you know, and God is going, he's going to work on us and really on the whole world, but he's really, really, really active in our lives right now. And in ways that we can see and ways we haven't seen yet, that he's, you know, things that are unveiling themselves dang near daily, you know what I'm saying? Blessings that are coming. A couple of weeks ago, it seemed like Nerissa was getting a check like every other day. I'm like, she was like, oh, I forgot about this, and this little extra money came. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but it was just still increased. So all of those blessings that were coming in, we just received them. And it was probably because of things that had been set into place before we actually received the check. So that's that. I can definitely say that God is at work in all of our lives. And I want to comment on what you were saying about how the world is getting smaller. You know, we're able to do things that we weren't able to do, and we're going to continue to do those things because I don't plan on turning back around. That would be unwise of us to like when we get back to being in the sanctuary on a normal basis for everybody, to just say, well, you know what? We no longer need Zoom. We no longer need these tools. That we would be unwise to do that. It's going to be greater that we have gone through this. And we talked about this before. We coming through the storm better than we were before.
Exactly.
I can just say, raise both hands, say hallelujah for that, because I see it and it's actually happening. It's not just words. It's not just words. And that's good news. That's really, really, really good news that we have that. And it's in our reading, it talked about how there's no excuse for us not to do our commission, what we're commissioned to do. There's no excuse. We have all the tools necessary to be able to spread the word, to do what we're commissioned to do. We mentioned how people were used to have to ride donkeys and camels. Now we have so many modes of transportation. We got the internet. We got, I mean, just so many things right at our fingertips to where we don't have any excuse not to. That being said, all we got to do is go out and do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? We could have the ideas and then not act upon those ideas, but we're actively doing something right now in this class, but there are other things that we can actually do too. So continue to reach out to friends and family and anybody who calls to you, like calls upon you. You might not have been expecting Uncle Mort. You're in the pharmacy and somebody needed a word. Just we stick with it. You know what I mean? We're gonna stick with it, and we ain't gonna turn back around.
Exactly.
So thank you for sharing that, Mom. And this world truly has shrunk. And you and Brother Tommy, we're on the same page by talking about how shrunk it is, because he talked about how we made that cross across the country, from the top to the bottom to the east to the west. The United States is a better place because of what we got going on right now.
That's right. That's right.
So thank you for sharing, Mom.
You're welcome.
And now I'm gonna ask Mom Sandra to share. You're on mute, Mom, just in case. You're on mute, so unmute your mic.
I'm saying you call me Sandra now?
Well, I would say Mom. I said, because I got Mama Jordan, I got First Lady Mom on here, so I got to distinguish.
Okay. All right, I got you.
Oh, I should say Mama Johnson then. Is that better?
No. but it's all right. Don't worry, I got you. This chapter, as far as talking about a commission for me, it really dealt with the commission for me for love. Our commission and how we are dealt out the words that he wants us to do is through all of our journeys. And the journey of sitting in the room with the people from the union and having them see and respect what you were doing, my sister, you know, and saying, I'm just reading the word and I'm gonna tell you a story, and letting them know that that's a blessing, that you let that be your ministry, how you are commissioned to do that at that moment. All of us are commissioned to do one thing, and that's to show the excellence and the wonder and the beauty of what God is about and how he makes us know that he is with us every day. There are so many, I guess, other ways we can see the commissions that we have, but overall, all of us have one mission, one commission, and that is the commission to know the power and the glory for everybody to see of love of God. We need to, we do that. That's what we do. And all of you do it well. Some of us are coming along trying to do it better. And it just, you know your task, and the task is to show and commission that. Don't be discouraged and worrying about how you're going to do it. Just know that if you illuminate love every day, you're doing the commission that you're supposed to do. That's what we all are doing, is to show the love and the courage that he has given you as an individual, and people look at you. They see that. They see what your commission is from God, the beauty that he's given you, the faith that he's encouraging you to show others, and that you show yourself, and the excellence of everything you do, or the best that you can do. I don't know. I have to say, my son has really given me insights and given me patience that I have acquired. Sometimes I'm resistant to some of the things you say, son, but overall, everything that you tell me in love, you tell me in encouragement, you tell me in determination to just get one goal, and that we go forward and make sure that in the sufferings that I feel that we're having in trying to get my husband the help that he needs, it's just kind of hard, you guys. And I'm sorry, I was just feeling it today a little bit while I was reading. But the love that I know that he has given me is that's my job. That's how one lady told me today, she says, you know, I just met you, but you were the most caring and loving person. I could just feel it. And I told her, I says, you know what? That is the best compliment that I could ever ask for, is for you to say that. If I am illuminating that for you, that's my purpose. That's my commission. Yep. Because I can only get it from God. Mm-hmm. And if you see that, know that. And that's all I ask you to do for me, is to know God and to know that that's what he does. So that's it, you guys. I've had a long day today, and I just feel so blessed that I'm here to just, listen to everything everybody says and to be encouraged, because all of you encourage me a lot.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you I'm glad you were able to get on too, Mama, because we're all being encouraged. And we talk about how iron sharpens iron. We're sharpening each other up right now, and we're lifting each other up. It is, I feel good when I get off this line. You know what I'm saying? When I really feel different than I did before we came in. And I hope that everybody feels that way once we get off this line. because that's what the purpose for this call is for. Us to come together to be in agreement, to have discussion, to where if it was a problem that was something that's going on, we can encourage somebody. Or if we want to celebrate
Yes,
somebody's
yes.
victory, we celebrate the victory or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because everybody has different things going on in their life. And that's what this small group is about. And
Right.
I've definitely shared in and felt the love from everybody. And I could appreciate how we all appreciate one another.
Yeah.
After we finish speaking, everybody is always saying thank you, but I'm saying thank you. I appreciate, this opportunity to be able to share. I'm soaking up so much wisdom and getting so much understanding that if I was talking to another group of people that probably my peers, I wouldn't get this. And so I appreciate what everybody brings to the table, and I look forward to continuing what we're doing. And I hope everybody else is getting something from it. So with that being said, I'm going to ask if there are any other comments before we close out.
Just one thing, Sister Johnson,
Yes.
your problem is visible and we all see your problem, but each and every one of us, we're on here because we have a problem. And we strengthen each other.
Yes, yes, I believe that.
And we pray for each other. So as Minister Lynch says, we learn when we teach.
Yes, yes,
So-
yes.
So you are in our prayers, and we hope that we are in your prayers because
Always.
we need prayer.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yes.
And we love you, and we're
Thank you.
praying
Yes.
with you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you very much. And I can say, even though I'm late, because I just got a new job that I'm trying to do, and it takes me on Wednesdays a lot to try to do all of it, but I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate so much
Yes, I
to
know.
be able
I
to
look
come
like
on.
I know I look like Denzel, and I'm all handsome and everything. I got a lot of problems, girl.
I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you. But I thank you guys so much for just the encouraging words that I hear you all say
Yes.
about
Yes,
everything. When we read the book,
yes,
it's more than just reading the book. The
Yeah.
book
yes,
gives us knowledge, but the experiences that it gives every one of us and that we share it enhances and
Yes.
blows that book even greater than what we could have even imagined,
amen.
and it just, the story that all of us tell about each day that we go through and each moment and experiences that we go through can only be gratified
Amen.
by the love that we show each other and
Yes.
sharing, because sharing is love.
Yes, yes.
Sharing is love.
Amen.
And I believe that. I really believe that sharing is love. And the more you share, the more you give. The love that you have in you by sharing is just unmeasurable. You can't measure it. You have to know that it is something that we all take and we all have, and loving every one of you. Some of you I might not have met before or don't know, but I know you because we have the same Spirit of God. So
Amen.
we're never having strangers. You're never a stranger. We are all one because we have one common thing that we have, and that is love for God and each other.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I have one thing. What is a prayer request?
Okay.
I was asked to be a speaker Friday on Zoom. So my nerves is kind of all over the place. So if you guys will during your week, just think of me, because this is gonna be a first.
Well, we're praying for your strength and for your confidence.
Amen.
And
You
God
got
got
it.
you. God got you.
it. All of the preaching and teaching you don't done during this Bible study.
Ooh, yes,
You got it.
yes.
Yeah, so this,
All the experiences you have is gonna go forth.
Let it go
yeah,
right.
so it's gonna be on Route
Mhm.
66.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yes.
you
Bishop
guys.
Green. Bishop Green.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love the title of that Route 66. She told me what it meant. She said it's 66 books in the Bible, and then we gonna carry. No, what she said, we're gonna travel through all of the 66 books, or whatever she said. But Route 66 are the 66 books in the Bible. I love
Oh, I like that.
that. Yes.
And
So
you
with
know
that
what?
being said, is there anything else?
Here's some, yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, but go ahead, Mr. Larry.
No,
When
no,
you're
you have something that I was just going to ask to close out, but if you have a comment, please.
Okay, I was just gonna say for all of you really, but for Friday for Sister Tina,
Mhm.
there's a term that calms me, and I got it from another study called Christian Disciplines.
Mhm.
Carry the Lord in your portable sanctuary with you when you do your speaking.
Okay.
So know that we all have a portable sanctuary, and that's where you'll take him with you.
Okay.
Amen.
Hold him right there, and he'll take you through whatever you have to go through.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to ask Brother Tommy to take us out in prayer.
Our Father,
Mhm.
God in heaven, the I am that I am.
Mhm.
We thank you for this meeting that we had tonight. We thank you that we were well fed.
Mm.
We thank you for your mercy that you've given us on this day to be a witness for you. Lord, we ask that you heal this land
Yes,
and these evil hearts. Lord, we ask that you humble these people and they pray and seek your face.
yes,
Lord, we ask that we are in a foreign land and our young Black people are being murdered for no reason.
Mm,
But we know that your son Jesus said, in my Father's house, there are many mansions.
oh, yes,
And so, Father, this too shall pass. And at some point, there'll be no one sleeping under overpass.
Amen.
Mm,
Father, we'll be home with you in our mansion.
yes,
yeah,
Lord, we thank you for sending your son Jesus to heal and be forgiven for our sins.
yes,
We ask that you bless everyone here tonight. You know the trouble that's in our heart, and each and every one of us have fallen short of the glory of God.
yes,
But Father, you said every knee is going to bow, and every mouth is going to confess that your son Jesus is the glory of God.
amen, amen.
Thank you for sending him into our lives.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Father. In your son Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you with all my heart. And
Amen.
I'm feeling good again, once again. I'm getting off full, you know. I'm filled up, right? Not just full, but filled. Yes.
Man.
All right. Well, I love you guys, and everybody enjoy the rest of your night. And
Nice to
forward
meet
to-
you, Uncle Mort.
Thank you, thank you. Y'all have a blessed night.
You
Good
too.
night,
You
all
too.
of you.
Yes.
Oh, it's my
Bye-bye.
for me.
Good night. I love
Okay.
you guys.
Love you too.
Bless
Yvonne, tell
you.
people I love Uncle Mort.
I will definitely do that right now as I go upstairs. Y'all have a good night. God bless you all.
You too.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right,
Bye-bye.
good night, you guys.